Should we be on alert for certain red flags when visiting a GI doctor? What's the deal with a low histamine diet? Fad or fact? Dr. Zac Spiritos lends us his expertise as a neurogastroenterologist whose curiosity and compassion drive his mission to help those with the most complex conditions. This episode is sure to leave you more informed to advocate for your care. Let's get connected. Life moves fast, and so should the answers to your biggest questions. Welcome to Endo Batteries Quick Connect, your direct line to expert insights. Short, powerful, and right to the point. You send in the questions, I bring in the experts, and in just 5 minutes, you get the knowledge you need. No long episodes, no extra time needed. And just remember, expert opinions shared here are for general information and not for personalized medical advice. Always consult your provider for your case-specific guidance. Got a question? Send it in, and let's quickly get you the answers. I'm your host, Alana, and it's time to connect. What are some red flags as a GI if someone's seeing a GI?
Yeah. So I think it's, if you've had, all the testing done. So if you had testing and it describes what's going on, great. If, however, you have testing and then everything is normal, quote unquote, normal or non-diagnostic, and they say, hey, it's IBS, and they can't tell you what IBS is, right? Because besides saying it's an invisible illness, it's just IBS, manage your stress, perhaps meditate sometimes. And those recommendations aren't misguided, but everybody's IBS is very unique to them. So if they're not able to describe IBS to you and give you a rundown of why their interventions will work for you, then it's perhaps time to either probe them more or find somebody else.
That's a good response right there. If they can't explain why they're doing what they're doing. Is there much evidence for the low histamine diet, or is there another approach you would consider first?
So I presume this question is about mast cell activation syndrome.
I think so. Yep.
So I tend to use low histamine diet in histamine intolerance, which is categorically different than mast cell activation syndrome.
Okay.
So histamine intolerance is where the thought is that you're lacking this very key enzyme that changes histamine to a more tolerable compound called histidine in your body. And those folks generally have flushing, tachycardia, rashes, bloating after eating something high in histamine. And a low histamine diet is very important for that. And it's important to work with someone who knows how to counsel about a low histamine diet, because at first glance, it's incredibly daunting to take on this diet. And you're like, I'm just going to eat, green beans and water. Like it seems incredibly restrictive. Not hating on green beans, I love green beans. For MCAS, it is part of the treatment process. But I tend to lean less on the diet because you do sometimes need, most of the time you do need therapeutics as well, like medications to help calm down those mast cells. Because if you think about what's causing mast cells, it's an overactive mast cell. And a low histamine diet just reduces your histamine load. And histamine is one of the byproducts of mast cell degranulation, or one of the chemicals that mast cells elicit. And so lowering your histamine diet reduces your histamine burden, but doesn't calm down those mast cells, which sometimes needs medications, or at least understanding triggers and trying to avoid them to the best of your
How do you find the triggers, like the food and drink triggers for mast cell activation?
It's a good question. And so a lot of it's just history, right? And so the good news about mast cells, it responds pretty quickly to what you're eating. So if you eat something that doesn't agree with you in IBS, you'll pay for that in 10 hours. So it's a little bit more challenging to identify those triggers. But in mast cell, your body will tell you pretty quickly if you ate something it didn't like. And so it's a pretty strict symptom diary, but that also involves everything else that can really kick off MCAS. Temperature changes, kind of how your mental health is, sleep, medications that you take. Yeah, so a very strict symptom diary is very important into the management of mast cell activation syndrome.
That's a wrap for this Quick Connect. I hope today's insights helped you move forward with more clarity and confidence. Do you have more questions? Keep them coming. Send them in, and I'll bring you the expert answers. You can send them in by using the link in the top of the description of this podcast episode, or by emailing contact@endobattery.com or visiting the endobattery.com contact page. Until next time, keep feeling empowered through knowledge.